Hello, everybody. Phillip Shoultz here again for the next installment in our series of videos as we prepare for our April 20th concert, The People of This Land, featuring Dvorak's New World Symphony and the focus of today's conversation, Hiawatha's Wedding Feast by Samuel Coleridge-Taylor. And I'm delighted to be joined by two faces that hopefully might be familiar to you if you are regular attendees at Rochester Symphony Orchestra chorale performances. I have Pat Anderson, who's the chorale director, and Anicia Hunter, who's one of the chorale singers. Welcome to you both. So glad you can join me today.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
So we are just excited to bring this to life, right? To bring this to the stage. This is the culmination of many months of planning and conversations, some inward thinking as well, right? Because this is beautiful music, but it's not music that can be presented without going inward and considering some challenging topics. And so we're going to dig into that just a little bit so that those of you who are watching this video and coming to the concert can understand some of the things that we've been grappling with through the past several weeks and months. But first, I want to begin with what you love. Because for me, whenever I learn a piece of music and preparing to present it, there's something that stands out that keeps me coming back for more, that makes me want to dig in and learn the rest of it. So for me, in the Wedding Feast, it's the tenor solo. The On Away, it is a gorgeous piece of music, and I can't wait for you all to hear it because the choir doesn't sing, so no one's really heard unless they've listened to a recording. But it was a piece of music that was so well regarded that W.E.B. Du Bois, he referenced it in the African-American tradition and created a piece which this was the centerpiece of the work, that particular aria with someone dancing to it. He considered it, I should say, to be the highest point of artistry by someone of African descent to that period of time, which I think says a lot, given all of the wonderful things that our people have contributed to our shared heritage. So that's the one that stands out to me. But I'm curious, Anicia, if there's one for you as a singer that just jumps out to you and makes your heart beat.
There is. My favorite part is in the middle. There's this section where one of the characters, his name is Pau Pakilis, he stands up and he dances for all of the people at the wedding feast. And I love how in that section, the music becomes very much like a dance, and it departs from everything that we've sung before, and it gets kind of wild and crazy. And I love following the soprano melody. It feels very much like a dance, and it's very, very fun to sing.
And it's very fast.
And it's very fast.
Yes.
Pat, what about for you? What jumps out to you?
I also love the dance section, but there is, to me, a sense of majesty in various places in the piece that convey the fact that this is an important ritual that's taking place here, that, it has some grandeur to it, lots of big interval jumps that happen that help to convey that sense of stature and almost nobility to it.
And I love the way you referred to the ritual, that there's something important happening here. And it is a wedding feast and there are wedding customs. And Pat, I know that's something that kind of has jumped out to you as you've been doing your research, leaning into some of those customs and traditions. Why don't you tell us what you've been exploring and learning?
Well, I really enjoyed digging a little bit deeper into the whole idea of what some of the wedding traditions are in various indigenous cultures and nations. And one of the things that I especially loved was apparently in a number of the nations, the custom actually is for the wedding couple to give gifts to the people who come to the wedding, the exact opposite of what we do in, the United States Caucasian wedding tradition. And it's very much a recognition that the couple says, we're here because of all of you. You are what brought us to this time and this place. And I think that's such a wonderful slant on it. The other thing that I learned is in several of the cultures, they do what's called a blanket ceremony, where the couple is wrapped in a blanket together. And I think it's, maybe another way of symbolizing what we sometimes do with what we would call the unity candle, or now there's a lot of times when people pour sand into a jar together, something that recognizes that it's two people, but it's two people that also become one in a sense, not losing their individuality, but recognizing that we become something together now as well. And I just thought that was really a lovely tradition that I read about.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Pat. And I love that I can see your passion for learning coming through, and that curiosity that we're asking everyone to lean into in approaching this concert. I'm sure you've infused these nuggets into the rehearsal process. So, Anicia, I'm curious, as a singer, what has the process been like for you, the experience been like for you as you've explored the other topics related to learning this piece of music?
I have really enjoyed listening to everyone else's thoughts and feelings, and all of the things that this music kind of brings up. I have done a lot of learning myself and just come to know how little I actually know and how much there is to learn. And I am so excited to be able to learn more about our local Indigenous communities and what they're doing, and getting to know their traditions. A lot of the things in this piece of music, the traditions are kind of a mishmash of lots of different Indigenous traditions. And I am excited to learn what are the traditions of the Indigenous community here in my area, and getting to know them a little bit better.
I'm glad you mentioned specifically there in the Rochester area. Part of our process has been having conversations with professors, universities, and some of the local school representatives to just talk with them about the piece, to get their reaction to us approaching this. And Pat, I know you and Amy Lindstrom had a particular conversation that gave you courage in moving forward.
We did. It was really a very gratifying time. And two specific things I want to mention from that conversation. One was our school representatives first let us know about a local powwow that is happening at Mayo High School on Saturday, May 4th. And I think it's like a 4-hour time slot. And they said, anyone can come at any point during that 4-hour time slot. You can come, stay for a little while, and leave for however much you want to. I'm really looking forward to going and experiencing that. But the other thing that I found very encouraging about that conversation, Amy and I went and said, many times, even though we have good intentions, impact doesn't always follow the good intentions. And above all, we don't want to create hurt. And so we were seeking, reaction from them to just the whole idea of, do we move ahead doing this? And the bottom line after our conversation with them was they encouraged us to move ahead with it, because they said, we feel like what's important is that this will open conversation, and there needs to be more conversation. We really want people to be more curious about the Indigenous population. And one of the representatives said, we're still here. And that just really struck me. Those 3 words have really stuck with me for several weeks now, that our Indigenous community members are saying, we're still here. We're not stuck back in the time that this piece was written. We're not stuck back in the old Western movies that so many people grew up with. We're still here now, and we want you to recognize that we're still here, and come get to know what we bring to this community today. I think that's so important.
And conversation is so important, especially with those whose experiences and backgrounds are different than ours. And that's what I love about being involved in this project as the guest conductor, the fact that we've leaned into this curiosity and have come up with 3 opportunities for people to continue to grow and learn and dig deeper, in addition to the concert itself. And so, Pat, you mentioned one, the powwow on May 4th. And there's also the Why Treaties Matter online interactive exhibit through the Minnesota Humanities Center that we will share a link to. And then your very own Rochester Arts Center has they'll have an exhibit this summer, and there'll be some docents at the concert on Saturday the 20th as well, for you to learn more about Indigenous culture that way. And I think that's the best that we can do to model this sense of a community that really affirms and values the differences of all who live here, and want to grow together and learn from each other, lean into the things that are difficult and challenging, but to come out of it on the other side saying we can be one community that really supports the thriving of everyone. So I want to thank you both for joining me for this conversation. We could probably do part 2 and part 3 and keep talking. But for now, we'll just say, friends, join us on April 20th. You'll hear the music. There'll be a little dialogue there as well, too. And, catch us after the concert for a beverage and a bite to eat. We'll keep talking more. But take good care of yourselves, everybody. Pat, Anicia, thank you for being with me today.
Thank you, Philip.
Thanks.